All right, let's take a look at what we're going to do in this video. In the last one, we set up two backgrounds. Now we're going to do a little bit of a parallax speed so that when our character is walking or moving around, and you might have to also adjust the offset here if it's too jarring, but you can see here, I'll just go ahead and make this 0.5 so you can see it a little bit stronger. But you see how this image in the background moves as we move? And so it parallaxes pretty quickly. You want to be careful with any sort of parallaxing animation. And let's do follow speed, maybe 1. And let's take our character speed down. You're going to have to play with a lot of these different values. But like, here's our character. Our move speed, we'll make this like 5. Because otherwise, if your characters are too zoomed in and it's too much speed, you can kind of make your player sick. So you can see this is a little bit nicer. And remember, we can get like a speed power up, and then boom, here we go. Trying to get away from this guy. So anyway, but with this, we can adjust the parallax speed. And the same thing with this offset. See, our camera's a little jittery. We want to sort of adjust that too. And that's because we don't have much. We might have to do another calculation later to really clean that up. But anyway, so let's take a look. All of the updating of this parallax speed, I added it to the main camera. So let's go ahead and open up that script. All right, so here we are back in our script. Now, these are pretty much the same. This is the new stuff. So pretty basic. We're getting the XYZ of background 1. So when we drag in into here, background 1 and background 2, which is the mushroom land is background 1. That's the one that's further back. And then our Hill's middle ground is the middle one. When we drag those in, we're getting the XYZ, which is the current position of those. And then that's what these are. So this is just storing the current position when we drag it in there. And then this is a value that we're going to use to do some basic math to control how quickly those images move from left to right. So the only next update is inside. So if I click on that, you can see we're inside of this if statement. We added this chunk of code here. Okay, so what do we have going on? If background is not equal to null, that means we dragged in an image for 1 and we dragged in an image for 2. This code will fire off. If it doesn't, we get a little message saying, hey, you're missing your background images. Little bit of math here. We're going to take the current position of the image, right, or of the main camera that we're in now, and we're going to subtract that by the new position.x. Now, all we're doing here is really the same thing as we have a new position where our camera is going, and then we have the current position. And remember, lerp takes two positions, these two, and it creates a smooth movement between them. So what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, if our camera's current position is 2, right, and our current position is 1, and our new position is 2, right, where we're going, and we subtract that, 2 minus 1 is 1, then we multiply that by 0.5, and that controls the speed of how far we are going to move, or a little bit of the amount that we're going to move, not the speed, but the parallax amount. So we're going to move just a little bit beyond the camera, so it's moving past the camera. Now, this is how we move the images. We just created two variables. Remember, a vector 3 stores x, y, and z. So we're just storing the current position of 1, and then we're storing the current position of 2. So the x, y, z of the current position of background target position 1 and 2. So that's what we're doing there. You might be wondering, well, why don't we just use background 1 dot position and 2? It's good to save it off in its own variable and not adjust these other values until later. So we're storing the current position here. And then we're going to say, hey, we're going to take the current position, and this is what's actually going to update the math. And we're saying background1.target.x equals the paragraph amount. We're going to add to this the parallax amount for background 1, and that's going to allow this one to move. Now, background 2, we want it to move a little bit further. So they're moving at different speeds, hence making parallax, which means like one image. Like when you're running along behind you, based on the distance, your background can appear to move at different speeds. And so what this one is doing is the second background, we want that to move a little bit quicker. And that's why we even multiply that to adjust the second background. And we're 1/2 of it by multiplying it by 0.5. So that's how we're adjusting the two different speeds here for background 1 and 2. Now, this is what actually applies the new position or actually moves the images. So we're saying the current position of background 1, if I control click on this, it takes me up to the top. So this is where we're actually moving the positions of those. So background 1 dot position and background 2 dot position, we're going to lerp. Remember, that means we're going to slowly move between two values. The first value is wherever our image is currently at. We're going to move that to the target position that we calculated here. And then to give it a little bit of extra speed, we're going to multiply that by follow speed. And if you remember, follow speed up here is currently set to 0.5. Or I'm sorry, it's set to 2 here. So we're going to multiply that by follow speed, which is the speed in which our camera goes. And we do that because we want it to somewhat be a little bit in sync with the camera's movement. And then remember, we use time.delta time. That's the time between frames to kind of smooth out the movement. And that's really it. If it doesn't make sense, let me know. So let me go ahead and hit Control S to save this one more time. And let's take a look at the setup and back in Unity. And yeah. All right, so here we are back in Unity. And like I said, we drag in the image from Mushroom Land background 1. And then here's our middle ground. And then you can just adjust the values based on how quickly you want it. So let's say you want it to be, let's say 0.09. You can see that moves. If you want it to be, you can do 0.1 here. You can see it moves at different speeds. If you really wanted to, you can go 0.5 here. You can see it moves a lot more, the furthest one. So we gotta jump up here. That mushroom's gone. Keep moving. And there's still a little bit of jittery, and that has to do with the way our character context connects with the ground. And actually, we need to, see how I've ran out of space? We really need to increase this too. And the same thing with this. So that's 32 here. And then this would be, so we can actually just go ahead and just make both of these like 40, and then this one 40. And then I'm gonna keep, because I kind of get motion sickness when I'm playing games that have like really weird background, like that have too much parallaxing. I kind of get motion sickness, so I want to make sure that this stays at 0.05. All right, that's it for this.